What's going on, everybody? This is going to be the video walkthrough for benefits of biodiversity 1.3. Read about it, what is biodiversity. And there's also going to be a second section called the 1.4 investigation, collect that data. And in this walkthrough, it's going to be going a little bit slower. So it would really benefit you to open up the course page. If the video is a little bit blurry, open up the course page will help you. Otherwise, you'll have some opportunities to pause this video and read through some of the reading material. So again, as we're going through this, we're reading for information. I've categorized the blue questions to be kind of like those surface level questions, those questions where it's basically just like a definition. These in the color that's a little bit warmer is a question where you'll have to read through the material to find the answer. So that's more of like a reading for information. And this either like kind of like light strawberry or a darker red raspberry color. These are questions that are going to be a little bit more open-ended, where you actually have to do a little bit more thinking in order to find the answer. So in the first few questions, we have describing biodiversity, the number of species. Describing a species, again, those are just two definition questions. A little bit of math here, and then a little bit of graph work. So let's get into it. So for the first section, it would probably benefit you to pause the video right now and then just read through this entire section right here. So this first question, describe biodiversity. Look at it right there. And it's any number of and variety of organisms found in a specific region. And in the last lesson, we did have that opportunity to look at two different photos. We had in one photo a large biodiversity, and then in the second video we had in the first photo we had a very small biodiversity, and the second we had a very high biodiversity. So this one basically just had all of a single type of species, whereas this one you see many different types of fish. And actually these coral and these plants are all actually living, adding to the biodiversity there also. And then here is describing a species. There's the definition of species. And there it is in Spanish. You can pause the video to read that. Next question, are the one that was in between us, how many species have been identified on Earth? So as you read through that, you know that you're reading for information, trying to find something about a number because it says how many. And then when we get to this next question, it's a little bit more of a kind of like a word problem, math problem. So the way this reads is we've identified 2 million. We believe there's a total number of 9 million species. So the question asks, if there are 2 million and there's 9 million total, how many do we have to discover? And it is asking you to show your math. So again, if there's a total of 9 million, and we know that there are 2 million, then we do this kind of fundamental math, and that should give us a pretty clear answer of how many species there are that we still believe are out there just waiting to be discovered. And if you really think about just, watching a nature channel, nature show, and all the different species that are out there, and there are so many more, kind of exciting. If that is your, that's what you think is interesting. So with the graph work, basically all we're doing here in the first section is listing the top 3 species by group. And I've kind of conveniently listed these by color, and they should happen to match the colors that are here. So this largest group is going to be the insects and arthropods. Second group is going to be plants, fungi, and algae. And for this red group, you can probably just put down various types of worms. If you want to put that all down, you can, but I'd be fine with just various types of worms. And again, each one of these should fit. If you want to take a few seconds to pause the video and take time to write that down. In the next question, we ask, how many types of bacteria, protozoa, and blue-green algae are there? And again, this is just a pretty fundamental skill of, looking at the legend, I believe it's called, the key, identifying that through all of these types, that is green. We find green, and then we just see how many are right there. So about a little bit over 42,000. In the next section, we're going to be looking for types of biodiversity. So in the document, you can see this heavy bold type, indicating a change in the section. We have 2 blue questions, which means they're pretty just simple, fundamental definitions. Pretty straightforward readings. So the first one is describing genetic diversity. You can read that right here. In 8th grade, I believe it is, you will be spending quite a bit of time looking at genetics. But just in general, genetics are just kind of like another name for DNA, or basically why the offspring look like parents. So if we have, for humans, if we have 2 humans, a male and a female, that are tall, and they have an offspring, chances are that offspring is going to be tall. There are certain situations and certain probabilities where that offspring could be short, and that is what we study in genetics with the Punnett squares. Likewise, if everybody in your family has dark colored hair, so again, that is a certain type of trait, hair color. If everybody in your family has a certain type of hair color, the offspring from these families will probably have dark colored hair. Now, there are instances where some of these traits do skip a single generation, or they may be hidden in that family tree or in that family for generations. It's still there, it's just kind of like hidden. And there are certain circumstances where that trait does appear or does get expressed. For instance, my wife and I both have black hair. However, our children have kind of like a dark brown hair. The dark brown actually came from their grandparents. One of my parents had dark brown hair, and my wife's mother also had dark colored hair, dark brown hair. So they received a hidden gene from both their grandparents that was in us, the parents, and that's how that hidden gene appeared. But when we go on to talk about genetic variety, we'll talk about that. This section right here is where we were talking about this 3 different traits that you and your classmates have. So a trait is basically just anything that is expressed differently. It has different variations. So everybody in your class has eye color. Some students in the class may have green, blue, brown, hazel, but it's any sort of black, but it's all sorts of natural eye color. So again, some people do have black eyes. Pink eyes, it's kind of a little bit more of a genetic disorder, albinoism, but in general, for most of the population, it's going to be green, blue, brown, maybe black. Skin tone is also going to be a different type of trait throughout the classroom. Some people have darker skin, lighter skin. Everybody in the classroom has height, so that is definitely one that you could put down. Some people are short, some people are tall, but all students have some sort of height. A different trait might be hair texture, where some people have straight hair, some people have wavy hair, some people have curly hair. And one last genetic trait might be earlobes. So some people have the bottom of their earlobes attached to their jawline, whereas some people have a earlobe that hangs. So that's something that you could take a moment to look at with yourself, with people in your family, if you have younger siblings. And there's all sorts of like fun little genetic traits that we can look at and see how exciting it is to be different from one another. So again, whether or not your earlobes attach or hang, hair texture, and height. Those are all different types of traits. And then the 3 types of biodiversity that are listed in the reading. Genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Those are all 3 different types of biodiversity. In the next section, we have 2 videos, and both of these are about collecting data. So go ahead and read this. Take a moment, pause the video if you'd like. The main problem is if we were going to collect data on the number of grasshoppers that are currently living at Madison Park. Then we might go through and try to find out how many grasshoppers live in a given area. However, this becomes very difficult as grasshoppers are going to move to different places, and maybe if the people that cut the lawn come out, it's going to change that population by having loud sounds and moving a large extent of them. So there's a lot of problems with trying to count populations. Besides the species and populations moving from one place to another as you're counting them, we have some offspring that, we have some populations that breed and multiply very quickly. As far as those dynamic changes, we have some populations that die off very quickly. We have a lot of populations that are in areas that are very difficult to get to. So trying to count the number of a certain type of goat that lives on a cliff, because that area is very inaccessible to humans. Using a helicopter is going to scare away and allow those populations and species to use their powers of camouflage. They can be very difficult. And perhaps trying to, going back to the biodiversity on a coral reef, it might be pretty difficult trying to count all of the fish that are right here, as they all look pretty similar. And being underwater in a coral reef might not be easy to get an accurate count. So these are all difficulties that we can run into. Go ahead and watch the 2 YouTube videos that are here. I'm not going to play them. The first one is going to be the techniques that are used for the gray-faced Singi? Not sure. And you can watch that one. And your job is to go ahead and type 15 to 25 words, so 2 or 3 sentences. What techniques were used to collect the population data in this film? So go ahead and watch this. And in 15 to 25 words, 2 or 3 sentences, how did they collect the data on those critters? And then you'll be watching a second video. It's a little bit longer, about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And in this video, they'll be showing you probably like 3 different techniques that are used to collect data on different populations. So you could, as 3 sentences, you could probably just say 3 different techniques that they used. As a quick reminder, all graded assignments are due this Friday, March 5th. Make sure you go through the grade book and you click on any assignments that need to be completed. And don't forget, in this white folder, there's a link to daily lessons. And all of these are just straight YouTube videos showing you how to complete the assignment. If you have any questions, send me a message. And if you do get finished a little bit early, work on this, or you can do any sort of Reading Plus, any sort of Khan Academy, or any other on-task activity. And this document will be graded. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Peace.